The ground beneath my feet feels as though it might give at any moment. There's an electric silence, as if the air itself is holding its breath before the storm. Here and now, at this crossroads, Bitcoin stands like a solitary figure on a windswept plain. Battered, yes, but still, somehow, unbroken. This is not just another story of numbers and charts. It is a clash of titans. Old money, new money, fear, hope, destiny, and doom. And if you step too close, you can feel the heat of that battle in your bones. This is Crypto 101 Central. If you want to be part of this journey, if you want to wrestle fear and opportunity side by side, subscribe now. Lean in. Hit that bell icon. You will not want to miss what comes next. Today, I will take you with me into the labyrinth where faith in the future and terror of collapse contend in equal measure. Markets are calm on the surface, and yet just below, whales circle, liquidations smolder, and the hands trembling at the switch, both institutional and retail, tell the real story. It is Sunday. The world's big desks are empty, but you and I are still watching, waiting. Beneath the silence is the ache of a question. Can Bitcoin rise from the ashes, or are we destined for another plunge into darkness? Let's breathe together for a moment and feel the storm that just passed. 4 months ago, Bitcoin soared to heights that sounded mythical. $126,000. The world's headlines sang songs of a new order. Paper fortunes bloomed overnight. In a blink, nearly half of that vanished. Today, Bitcoin hovers, dazed, just shy of $70,000. And here is the battlefield. Thin volumes, light liquidity, a market draped in suspense like the hush before a scream. But let's not mistake quiet for calm, nor stasis for safety. There is a war, invisible to the eye, where fear duels with opportunity. Retail investors, their tools blunted, square off against institutions sharpening their strategies in the shadows. And somewhere in the space between, dreams are won and lost. You want to understand what happened? Let's step into the perfect storm. I have seen 5 cascading blows, each brutal on its own, but together, an earthquake. Names and dates dissolve into emotion and consequence. The appointment of Kevin Wersch haunts the air, a hawk among doves, insisting on austerity when the world demands relief. Within days, 17% of Bitcoin's value incinerated. Trillions burned from the crypto landscape. Gold and silver bled, the dollar, a wounded predator, surged defiantly. Wersch's legacy? He does not fear collapse. He fears the cost of rescue. And it is that fear, not facts nor sentiment, that moves markets. Then the exodus. A torrent of capital fleeing Bitcoin ETFs. $6 billion. Gone like smoke. Each redemption, each outflow triggers the next, a feedback loop of pain. BlackRock, Fidelity, giants that never flinch, now forced to sell, their exits echoing like the footfalls of giants in a cathedral. Prices tumble, margin calls hell, and the chain reaction pulls more and more under. Retail, those who dared to leverage their belief, find themselves cast out with nothing but regret, as $2 billion in liquidations sweep them away. Fear has a flavor, a metallic tang that lingers on the tongue. Listen, do not take this as guidance. This is not advice you should trust blindly. It is my map, not your gospel. Every risk belongs to you alone. But let's look together at the devastation and the seeds it leaves. In moments like these, Bitcoin's identity falters, supposed savior, digital gold. But when the crisis comes, gold rises while Bitcoin staggers. Over these months, as real gold gleams, Bitcoin's armor cracks. The story breaks open. In truth, our fabled hedge is treated like one more tech stock, rising and falling on the tides of speculation. This wound is deep. It aches in the heart of belief. But is it fatal? Not yet. Markets move on what is, not what should be. Are you feeling the weight of all this? Can you taste the anxiety on the wind? If you can, give this video a like. It marks you as someone who understands that investing is never just math. I want you to join the discussion below. Tell me honestly, What moves you about these markets? Where do you see hope? Technically, all is fragile. There are floors, soft as sand, and ceilings, tempting but perilous. If Bitcoin holds above 69,100, there is oxygen, a shaky hope for a jump to 73,000. But the ground is thin. If we slip, 62,000 yawns below, and at the deepest fear, 55,000 grins with hungry promise. Charts don't lie, but they do not comfort. Volume speaks in riddles. When selling is loud and recovery is a whisper, you know the heart of the market is weary. And the hands that hold, the whales, the silent giants, they move billions, sometimes in secrecy, sometimes in confidence. On the morning after the darkest decline, over 66,000 Bitcoins swept into long-term wallets worth over $4 billion. Accumulation or sleight of hand? Sometimes whale moves are only shadows. The exchanges shifting coins between hidden vaults, obscuring truth. Hope, yes. Certainty, never. Even institutions, the titans who shape tides, show signs of distress. MicroStrategy, now Strategy, buys more, adding over 1,000 coins, but their holdings, immense as they are sour, underwater. The old champion, Michael Saylor, is resolute. Yet even Bet the House bravery feels the cold bite of uncertainty. BlackRock, Fidelity, the ETF titans have moments of strength, then bleeding, then silence. The mood is watchful. The road ahead, undetermined. But outside the world of coins and screens, the wider ocean churns. Economic storms, Federal Reserve policy, the Senate's rituals, the president's tariff wars, each sends a wave rolling toward our fragile shores. Inflation, that specter drifts lower. At least that is what the numbers say. But what certainty is there when even the numbers may be lies, warped by the chaos of bureaucracy and government machinery? The promise of lower rates, the threat of a surprise resurgence, each possibility in play, and worse waits in the wings. The Senate stalls, suspicion and party lines bristling, a hawk, a dove, an untested heart. The world watches for a single word, a gesture, to decide the fate of billions. Trump, meanwhile, drags enemies to the battlements. Tariffs clash across oceans, the courts argue over the legality of his decrees, and the Supreme Court prepares to roll dice with the lives of markets and nations. If tariffs fall, inflation could cool. If they last, the fires burn longer. The fate of Bitcoin, and everything else, hinges on that blade edge. Then, the United States, that towering colossus, buckles under the weight of its own debts. Trillions owed, the burden swelling like a bruise no balm can soothe. If the machinery seizes, if default whispers, even for a moment, the world could turn its back on the dollar. What then? In that moment, Bitcoin's battered promise as digital gold could rise again, not as a tech play, but as sanctuary. These are the winds and currents swirling across the path ahead. This week, the thin calm, the return of institutions, the flood or drought of ETF flows, the telling numbers from inflation and sales. In days and weeks to follow, every data point is a candle in the darkness, revealing or obscuring what future shapes are moving toward us. So what lies ahead? I see three paths, tangled together like the roots of an ancient tree. The first, recovery, 40 out of 100 chance. ETF inflows surge. Worse surprises us with a gentler hand. Tech steadies. Supreme Court undoes the tariffs. In this ray of hope, Bitcoin could rise from here through 80,000, even 100,000 by summer. We have seen stranger things in the growing light of history. The second, consolidation, 35 out of 100 chance. A grinding, ceaseless oscillation between 60 and 80,000. No triumph, no disaster, only waiting. The market, indecisive, searching for a catalyst, a spark to ignite the future. The third, a descent, a quarter chance, closed as a fist. Outflows resume. Whoosh clamps down. Tech slumps again. Tariffs remain. Inflation revives. In that bitter scenario, Bitcoin falls further. 65, 62, 55,000. Maybe even the cold abyss of 40,000 if the storms rage unceasingly. Are you ready for such darkness? You must be, because to invest is to walk at the edge of the abyss and smile. Now we stand together at a great decision point. The world is not ending, but confidence is bruised. The digital gold story faltered when most needed. The tech stock curse lingers like a shadow at dusk. The great macro dice, whoosh, tariffs, debt crisis, rattle in hands unseen. I am watching this Tuesday as closely as I have ever watched anything. The ETF flows, heartbeats of institutions, the whispers of retail sales. For in the end, it is not data or devices, not charts or strategies. It is courage, your courage, my courage, tested against the unknown that will define how we cross this next threshold. If you have seen the world with fresh eyes through this breakdown, I want you to be prepared. Subscribe now, because the world of crypto spins fast, and, at any moment, a Supreme Court ruling, a Senate confirmation, or a wild-eyed whale could shift the ground beneath us all. Share your voice, like if you feel the weight. Comment if you have hope or doubts or questions burning in your heart. The real conversation, the one that matters, begins there, among those who care enough to look deeper. Do not be afraid of the dark. Learn to see by the lightning. Stay with us. Watch the next video. Subscribe, hit that bell, and let us walk through history together.